You're with America's Forum on Newsmax TV. I'm J.D. Hayworth.
And I'm John Bachman. J.D., if you think back to when we first started talking about the escalating tensions in Ukraine, we were talking about Vladimir Putin and making the comparison between Adolf Hitler, Neville Chamberlain, the Sudetenland. And now there's a very chilling, another instance going on right now that harkens back to the run-up to World War II, and it just really it's scary and disturbing to talk about, but we got to talk about it anyway right now. U.S. officials are denouncing anti-Semitic flyers that are cropping up in eastern Ukraine. Secretary of State John Kerry says the leaflets ordering Jews in the area to register with a government office are grotesque, but the Jewish community has dismissed the flyers as a provocation, and they were handed out by masked men in front of the synagogue in Donetsk there in eastern Ukraine. So what's really going on here behind this? Joining us right now to discuss this is Michael Salberg, the Director of International Affairs for the Anti-Defamation League, talking to us from New York. How you doing, Michael?
I'm well, thank you.
Michael, as we were recounting this most recent incident, taking the historical view, we remember Mark Twain's famous admonition, history doesn't repeat itself, but it rhymes. When you got this news, what's been your reaction to it?
Well, it was extraordinarily disturbing. We got a lot of inquiries yesterday from our constituents in the Jewish community, from journalists. It's a story that really caught the attention of the American public, and for good reason. I think Secretary Kerry's description of the content as grotesque and your reference to the historical overtones of Nazi Germany and its treatment of German Jews in the mid to late 30s really is something that resonates particularly, I think, at a time when Americans witnessed a horrific anti-Semitic attack in Overland Park, Kansas last week. So this is a manifestation, an escalation of a long-standing problem in the region, Ukraine, Russia, parts of Europe, where the political use of anti-Semitism is part of business as usual. There have been times in Ukrainian politics when political operatives will accuse a political opponent of being a Jew, even if they're not. There have been times more recently when political opponents will accuse a candidate or the other party of being an anti-Semite. This is playing the Jew card. It has no substance to it. There is anti-Semitism everywhere in the world. There's anti-Semitism in Ukraine. There's anti-Semitism in Russia. There's anti-Semitism in the United States. What was so disturbing about this flyer, and it really doesn't matter who was behind it, was an escalation. We saw it as an escalation in the rhetoric, the anti-Jewish rhetoric. And when you, in the introduction, mentioned that it was being dismissed by the Jewish community as a provocation, I'm not sure that's a dismissal. I think that's actually an accurate kind of description. This was indeed a provocation. The message is a message of intimidation. And the conflict between the separatists, the Ukrainian separatists, and the Ukrainian government, between Ukraine and Russia, has nothing to do with anti-Semitism and has nothing to do with Jews. Oh. And I think, let me just one
sure,
more point.
Of course.
And that is, a very positive step yesterday was taken toward de-escalating the tension between Ukraine and Russia, the agreement among the U.S., the EU, Russia, and Ukraine. And in the joint statement, the four participants in that joint agreement made reference to the need to condemn and stop expressions of anti-Semitism.
Is that enough for you? And we heard John Kerry come out and say that these are grotesque, but of course, you're also thinking about two words, and these are the two words that I thought about. Never again. You think back to the Holocaust. Should there be more vocal kind of nudging from John Kerry towards the European countries. We've talked recently on the show about anti-Semitism in France and other places in Europe, but do the European countries really need to be more vocal about this as well as John Kerry?
2 points about that. It's a great question. 2 points. One is, in this particular circumstance, Russia, Ukraine, it is essential that political leaders, civic leaders, religious leaders be clear and vocal in condemning any manifestations of anti-Semitism. That goes for the leadership in Russia and the leadership in Ukraine. There are Jewish ministers in the new Ukrainian government. The Ukrainian government has been clear about condemning expressions of anti-Semitism. It needs to be reinforced. It's not just enough that Secretary Kerry and the U.S. ambassador spoke out yesterday, and it's not enough to just do it once. Something unique about the United States is that our State Department is required to monitor and report on anti-Semitism in every country where we have an embassy.
Michael, there's about a minute left. What about President Putin in the Russian Federation? Have we ever heard a clear statement condemning any of these actions from President Putin?
President Putin has in fact said that anti-Semitism is wrong and expressions of anti-Semitism are wrong. We need to hear it more often, we need to hear it more clearly, and we need to hear it in much closer proximity to the manifestations. Now, the fact is, these are Ukrainians that are involved in these expressions. Nonetheless, Russia has put itself into a part of Ukraine and should be speaking out forcefully.
Michael Salberg, the Director of International Affairs of the Anti-Defamation League, we thank you for your time and your insights. We look forward to visiting with you again in the not too distant future. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So let's ask you, what's going on in the Ukraine, this expression of anti-Semitism? Who do you think's behind it? We'd love to hear from you. Tweet us at Newsmax TV, hashtag America's Forum. You can also email us, connect@newsmaxtv.com. America's Forum is coming right back.